And I am going to read tonight to you via our traditional Flashlight Friday. Now, this is just like if we were in our classroom, so I can show your parents how we would use our flashlight for tracking purposes. So, the book that I have chosen for you, I think we are really going to enjoy because this particular book is a lot of fun to read, and it's also a good night storybook, so I think you're going to really like it. So this book is called Goodnight Construction Site, and it has rhyming words. So we always love books that have rhyming words in our class. Now, this particular story was written by Sherri, Dusky, Rinker, and Tom Lichtenheld. And we have read some stories by Tom Lichtenheld in our class before. Now, parents, for your purposes, this is just a normal flashlight. It is little. It is like one that you would find at the Dollar Tree. So you can just click it on and off with a little button, and it runs off a AA battery. And the reason why we track when we read, boys and girls and parents, is because it helps us keep track of what word we are reading. Good night construction site. So that's how Flashlight Friday works, and that's the reason why we practice with flashlights, because it's a fun way for us to practice that tracking skill. Now, tracking, Miss Underwood still does tracking even though she is a grown-up. The reason for that is because when we're reading, we often get distracted because people are talking, things are going on. Right now in this room, I've got my dogs over here, my washer and dryer's running, my kids are walking back and forth, and so there's lots of things going on that will distract you when you are trying to read, even as a grown-up. So I will find myself when I'm reading touching every word just like boys and girls do. Well, if we can learn to track as we read, it helps our brain put in contact with that word, and our mouths will say what that word is. So tracking is a skill not only for young readers, but for older readers. It also really helps anybody that has dyslexia tendencies to make sure that they are reading the word that they are touching. Tactile learners, kinesthetic learners, it's really good for them as well because they're touching and feeling what they are reading. So that is why this is a skill that we practice, and we practice it in a fun way with flashlights. Now, Miss Underwood does not normally let anybody flashlight on your face, but for the purposes of the video, so that you can see me, I have to use the flashlight on my face. Typically in our classroom, we wouldn't be allowed to use the flashlight anywhere but where, boys and girls? That's right, on the book. And then when we're using our flashlights, all we can do is read, and love it. That's right. So we are going to get started with Goodnight Construction Site. Goodnight Construction Site. Down in the big construction site, the tough trucks work with all their might to build a building, make a road, to get the job done, load by load. And then so what you see here in the picture is them building at the construction site. The sun has set, the work is done. It's time for trucks to end their fun. So one by one, they'll go to bed to yawn and rest their sleepy heads. They wake up to another day of rough and tough construction play. And so there is the construction site. Now, boys and girls, do we think construction trucks really sleep at night? I don't think they do. I think they're not real. So this book must be, is it fiction or informational text? fiction. Very good. Working hard to help his team, crane truck raises one last beam. So there's a picture of crane truck. Reaching, stretching, lifting high. He swings the beam into the sky. He'll set it down right on its mark. Then off to bed. It's almost dark. And then there it is. Do you notice how when I'm reading, I'm only highlighting the word? He slowly folds his boom back in, and then with one last sleepy grin, he tucks himself in nice and tight. Sigh, then cuddles up and says good night. Shh, good night, crane truck, good night. Spinning, churning all day long, cement mixer sings his whirly song. Now yawn, he's weary and oh so dizzy from the fun that keeps him busy. With one last spin, he pours the load. He's ready now to leave the road. He takes a bath, gets shiny bright, pulls up his chute and turns off his light. He cuts his engine, slows his drum. He dreams sweet dreams of twirly fun. Shh, good night, cement mixer, good night. There he is, and there he is going to good night. Dump truck loves to work and haul. He carries loads both big and small. He moves the dirt from place to place, then dumps it with a happy face. One final load spills on the heap, crunch. No dump truck's tired, and wants to sleep. He lowers his bed, locks his gate, rests his wheels, it's getting late. He dims his lights, then shuts his doors, and soon his engine slows to snores. Shh, good night, dump truck, good night. Look at him snoring all the way up the top of the building. Pushing with his mighty blade, bulldozer works to smooth the grade. He clears the way to level ground and fills the air with thunderous sound. Roar! No one's as tough and strong as he, but now he's sleepy as can be. There's bulldozer. He puffs some smoke out of his stack, turns off his engine, stops his track. He curls into his soft dirt bed and dreams of busy days ahead. Shh, good night, bulldozer, good night. Scooping gravel, dirt, and sand, excavator shapes the land. He digs and lifts throughout the day. Arg! But now it's time to end his play. A few more holes to dig and soon he'll roll to bed beneath the moon. He twirls upon his bumpy track, pulls up his boom and stretches his back. He sets his scoop down on the ground, snuggles up without a sound. Yawn. Shh. Good night, excavator. Good night. These big trucks, so tough and loud, they work so rough and proud. Tomorrow is another day, another chance to work and play. Turn off your engine, stop your tracks, relax your wheels, your stacks and backs. No more huffing and puffing, team. It's time to rest your heads and dream. Construction site all tucked in tight. The day is done, turn off the light. Great work today. Now, shh. Good night. The end. Now, I hope that you did great work today for your grown-up, and I cannot wait until I see you again. Now, you know I love you from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. Now, shh. Good night.